lot of our stuff, offensively, defensively, a lot better. We got a lot of stuff we got to correct off of this tape. Okay, lost our mind a few times, but a win's a win. That puts another mark on your record right now, and I'm proud of it.
A lot to be proud of for head coach Brad Wallace and the Lincoln Golden Bears. Welcome into the Lincoln Playbook, a 14-12 victory over Springville. And coach, we talk about driving through adversity and playing through adversity, and trying to get back a level head after big wins. Talk about this game against Springville, the way everything played out.
Well, you start out at the beginning of it, and number one, I really thought we had a good week of practice going into the game. I think maybe right before the game we may have lost a little bit of our focus, but we had to regain a little bit of that at halftime and try to get ourselves back on track and try to get us. But I'm not taking anything away from Springville.
Right.
If you go back and look at their record from the first 5 ball games, their average of losing a ball game is only 7 points.
Right.
And so that's they've got a great defensive team, and they're getting better on offense. They just hadn't got all the kinks worked out, and they're still a pretty young football team up in Springville.
Right. This was senior day. It's the last chance for your seniors to play their final game at Keith Howard Memorial Stadium. This is one of the classes that you needed to kind of get on your back, so to speak. They've been through a lot. They've been through a lot of coaching changes, and a lot of these guys are the catalyst of what has gone on so far. Talk about this group. We have a few shots here of some guys that were honored Thursday night. Let's talk about this group and their leadership.
Well, I even talked to them right before we even started the game in the pregame. You have your little pregame deal before the game. And I said, guys, these guys are our foundation of what's to come in the next few years. And
right.
They've actually started building something at Lincoln that needed to be started a long time ago, but we're starting to do it with these guys.
Right.
And they understand that they want to be on a winning track every year, and they want to build that tradition that Lincoln that every year and year out that we're going to be a dominant football team, and that's what we tried to build this year with these guys. They beat a ranked opponent. That was something that we strive for this year. They've had tremendous success throughout the year. I know we got our 2 blemishes on our schedule, but if you go back and you look at what these seniors have accomplished, and they're still. I'm sitting here talking like this already over with, but these guys are still building every week.
Right. One of the seniors that was on the football team, that's still on the football team, Jamario Howard, one of the best players on the team. He's been on this show a couple of times. The leadership just comes out of his voice. And he's such a leader, such a powerful and inspirational guy. Went down and initially it looked pretty bad, but chances are, he's still got some prognosis to kind of work out.
Well, we know for a fact he's got an MRI that he's got to get done on Monday. But this kid, he gets hurt on the second kickoff, and he bounced right back up, gets on our sideline. Our athletic trainer checks him. You can see no grimace or anything in his face. He's just one of those tough kids. And goes out and runs the ball for 2 or 3 times, and then I think he gets twisted up again in one of the piles, and that's when he gets initially the main blunt of the knee. But what we're going to do is we're still reevaluating him. We hadn't gave up on Mario being back on our field yet. Even though this happened at the first half, as soon as he got dressed, the first thing he wanted to do was come speak to the team at halftime. Yeah. So that was kind of lifted our guys up a little bit and kind of got their spirits back up, and they kind of went out and they fought the second half out for him.
Absolutely, and they ended up getting a big-time win. You will see how that all plays out right here on the Lincoln Playbook. We'll have first-half highlights after the break. One of our fine sponsors of this program is Luxury Auto Parts. Go out and see Lee McLean and the folks over there at Luxury Auto Parts. You can visit them online, luxuryautoparts.com or insurancedirectautos.com. Give them a call, 256-763-1084 or 1-888-589-PARTS. We're back with first half highlights of Lincoln and Springville after the break. We're back with the Lincoln Playbook, first half highlights of Lincoln and Springville on senior day. And Coach, first off, just talk about the way you wanted these guys to start out.
Well, I wanted us to come out and start out fast, but I tell you what, Springville came out and gave us everything we wanted in the first half, and they came out real physical. And I don't think we started out as physical as we should have.
Right.
I mean, we came off that big win from Mormon Jordan, and I know everybody says, well, that's going to happen. Well, I don't like for it to happen.
Right.
I mean, I like for our teams to be as level-headed and each week take care on every team like you would a championship team. But we had some circumstances in this ball game that didn't let us come out fast, and it seemed like every time we got something started, we got shot in the foot. So I mean, we're trying to battle in this first half as much as we can. They get up on us 3-0 right here, and at least that's the only thing we gave up. Our defense had a couple goal line stands during this first half. Our defense played very, very well, to be honest with you. We made some great plays. That was a great play by Zay Caldwell there. But, I mean, we had some great plays by our defense, but offensively, we never really got everything started on all 8 cylinders.
Yeah, and then also field position played a large key as well. It seemed like they were in the red zone a lot, but credit to your guys, getting and continuing to work and get away from it.
Yeah, and I mean, stuff like this kept happening, and I mean, I'm not down on our kid right there, but it seemed like when everything started going good for us, something bad would happen and put us back.
Right.
And, but our kids fought through it. I mean, we fought through adversity the whole first half, and we came out and playing great defense. I mean, throughout the whole game, but we just, I mean, I don't know, we just didn't have our pop like we normally do, and we're going to work on that this week. Our seniors got together even after this ball game and got in the middle of our locker room and said, this won't happen again, guys. We're not going to come out flat like this in a football game again.
Right, and it seemed like the defense was a lot of bend, don't break, especially in the first half. They got to the red zone, and you were able to keep them out of the end zone.
That's right, and I mean, our guys right here, this is a goal line stand. That was 4th and 1, and they were trying to punch it in and go ahead, but our guys kept fighting, and that's the one thing that I was real proud about watching when I turned the film on was, hey, our guys never quit, especially on the defensive side of the ball. And offensively, we really didn't quit. We just, I mean, it was like 1 or 2 people off, on each play.
Right, and it seemed like you're always starting in the shadow of your own goal line to start out with, and you're able to get out as well.
That's right, field position. I mean, every time you get in a ball game, you want that good field position. But it seemed like we were starting from the 3-yard line every time. It seemed like, but we battled, and that's the one thing that I am proud for our kids in this first half of this game is we actually went out and tried to execute, but we had a few. Like I said, it's just a few people off in each play.
So a lot of fixable things, and a lot of things that you saw that, hey, we're not playing as bad as the scoreboard would indicate.
Yeah, and there was a lot of fixable things, and they gave us some new things. I mean, there's some stuff that we hadn't seen actually all year long.
Right.
And I credit them, their defense staff, for that on our offense. Of doing that to our offense this week. I mean, when they shut us down a few times, and I mean it's one of those things you just have to swallow. And I mean, just like today, we went back to the board and we started fixing everything that needed to be fixed, and we'll fix that on the practice field this week.
Right. We talk a lot about the offense and the defense. A lot of these guys go both ways as well. So it's not like 2 completely different units, and some people are playing poorly, some people playing well. Talk about what this defense is doing. You'll see some highlights in the second half, obviously, where you get some points on the board. But here, over the last couple of games, the defense has really caused some fumbles, made some turnovers, and really swung momentum of games.
Well, I think the comfort issue and the comfort of playing the game. I mean, I think when we came out of spring, I think our offense was way ahead of our defense.
Right.
I think the comfort of our offense is how simple we made it, and then as we've come through the season, we've gotten a little more complex. But now our kids are understanding it a lot better,
right?
And they can make adjustments on their own when they need to on the field, and that's one of the things that kind of helps us out, and them having an understanding of what we're trying to get out of them.
On the field, Springville, just kind of talk about them as a dynamic. Were they more of a fast team, a power team? How'd they look?
I thought they were really, really fast, and I really, I mean, as a coach, you kind of enjoy the game.
Right.
So I was watching them a little bit on defense. Man, their 2 linebackers flew around the whole night. I mean, it seemed like they were in our backfield, and it's just our linemen weren't getting their eyes up. They weren't seeing them sugared up a little bit on the blitzes. I mean, little things like that will get you in a bind offensively, and it kind of showed. And I tell you something else that didn't help us out. I mean, I talk about it every week, our fumbles, our turnovers, and I tell our guys all the time, turnovers will wind up getting you in a bind in a football game. And if you watch Saturday ball every week, the team that usually has the most turnovers is the one that loses.
Exactly. Another big thing that you always say, you mentioned it earlier, is learn when you win and learn when you lose. Do you think that a first half like this, although you're down just 3-0, you can show this to the team afterwards on a Tuesday and say, hey guys, this and this and this is where we need it, exactly where we need to fix, and this is the reason why. Like it ends up being a good thing in the long run.
Well, I think all I have to do is say Springville right now. Our kids, it'll get their attention and real quick. When we went through the film, I mean, there were some of our kids that didn't even want to watch what they had done.
Right.
I mean, we had a couple of linemen that were watching film, and it just wasn't them. But well, I mean, we're going to take this one game at a time, and I always say we're going to try to get ourselves better on the field this week. And I told them that after the end of the game, we've got to work on us.
Right.
And if we can get us better, we're going to be a better football team.
Absolutely, a good football team to start with. Got a big win over Springville, 14-12. You'll see the way the Golden Bears closed out the Tigers. Coming up in the second half, but first we'll go to the break with the band from Thursday night. Their performance on Keith Howard Memorial Field. We're back with second half highlights of Lincoln and Springville. Springville took a 3-0 lead to the break, but coach, a huge defensive play to start out.
It was. KJ Collins intercepting this ball, and this was kind of one of the adjustments through the night. They kept getting into trips formation, and they were running a guy, the number one receiver in a curl. And so we were trying to make our inside linebackers is drop into that curl zone and make sure that one was taken care of. And sure enough, they threw it right at the beginning of the third quarter.
Right, and this is actually, I think, the third game in a row now. You've scored a touchdown with defense.
I mean, our guys are, like I said, our guys are getting comfortable, and our guys are understanding what we want out of them on the defense side of the ball. And it's big, and it's hard to run the ball when you got a great defensive line. And I give credit to all four of those guys. They've been getting better each week.
Right. And then the defense once again finds himself back in the red zone. Bend, don't break. That's a huge 3rd-and-2 play.
It is, and John Tavis Johnson, you see him throughout this second half. He comes alive. And when the big man gets alive, it starts getting a little bit loud on our defense side of the ball. This was a blocked field goal by Austin Blanton, and we picked the ball up, scooped and scored. That's something that we practice every day. And I mean, that was a great turnaround for our defense right there on the goal line stand.
Right, and that makes it, we talked about the defense touchdown. That's actually 2 out of the last 3 games you score on special teams as well.
That's exactly right. We're trying, I mean, and that's the thing about our team right now is balancing out all 3 phases. All 3 phases are really giving us an opportunity to win each week.
And like you saw a team like the Baltimore Ravens one time went like an entire month without scoring an offensive touchdown. It's got to be good to know that, hey, when the defense needs to make a play, it can make a play, and special teams as well.
They came out, I mean, really in the second half, they came out more physical. I thought our defense was flying around throughout the second half of the ball game. I mean, I know our offensive coordinator was a little sick at the end. He was like, man, we didn't score, but I mean, it's one of those things. We're in a learning curve with some of our players. I mean, there's some of our young guys on the offensive lines, and we're going to eventually evolve into being able to be that team each week.
Right.
But our kids are seeing new fronts. They're seeing new stuff that a lot of people are starting to run against us, and we're having to make adjustments during games.
Right, and they're doing a pretty good job of it. Then you know, as you go into the fourth quarter, once again, the defense does a good job of getting some good pressure on the quarterback, forcing him to make some plays like that across the middle. But I mean, there aren't easy plays to make.
No, they're not, and I mean, they had to grind on this. I think this is a touchdown drive, if I'm not mistaken. They're grinding it down the field, and our guys are not bending. I mean, they're bending but not breaking.
Right.
But like I said, we got to pick ourselves up a little bit on the offensive side of the ball.
Right, and you talk about all the backs that you have. You know, you have Jamario, you have Duranye Bell, and the other guys that have carried the football and carried the rock. And a lot of times, like you were saying, you know, you just have to. It's one of the things that you have to just get them going.
Yeah, I mean, and that's the one thing we never got it. And when we did get it going, it seemed like something bad would happen,
right?
Or something would pull it out from underneath us. So it took a little while for us to get going on offense. And I mean, we got a long way to go on that side of the ball, and we knew that at the beginning of the season. But we're going to get better. And the one thing that we did we kind of self-scouted ourselves and went back for 4 or 5 ball games and just kind of gave us an opportunity to look at what's going on with our offense and what the play calling is and what we need to change up and that type of thing. So that kind of helped us out a little bit during our game plan this week.
In the highlights, you saw a big 2-point conversion stop. So you made it 14-12 at that point. Just talk about the way that everything broke down. They wanted to run. They wanted to run on the outside. Everything broke down. And defense stayed with it. Everybody stayed at home and make sure he didn't get in.
That's it. And when you watch that 2-point conversion, our defense converged right at the last minute. They're still on the routes and they break off to come and converge on them, and they stop him like on the 4-yard line, which was an awesome deal for our defense, especially a pickup game like this.
As you look at this region, and now you've played everybody but one team, and I'm sure you've seen Moody a few times on the team. Now assess. We'll talk specifically about the way where you stand in the region, but talk about this region just in general. Was there any surprises, any things that you saw that you maybe thought of maybe been different?
Well, there were a lot of surprises throughout the whole year. I mean, you go in and you're playing a whole bunch of new teams. I mean, the only 2 teams that we had any knowledge on was Anniston and Alexandria. Right. And we're going in and playing a whole bunch of new teams. We're learning what they like to do and their tendencies and that type of thing. So that was kind of the fun aspect of it. But I tell you, I mean, you're always going to have Alexandria and Anniston. They're always going to play you tough. I mean, that's no matter what. Right. And then we get into week 7, and you got Mortimer Jordan sitting there, and they're number 3 in the state, and I'm like, man, this is kind of becoming a nightmare toward the end. And we have a great game there. And then, I mean, you got Springville, and Springville, and I know everybody overlooked them a little bit. I really think our kids even, with internet and stuff like that, they see wins, losses, but they don't pay attention to records. Right. And I told them, I said before the ball game, I said, guys, I said they're 2-5 right now. I said this is where we were sitting at this time last year. Wow. Yeah. And I said. And they've only lost by 7 points a ball game. If I'm not mistaken, that's where we were last year. Right. And I think all their eyes kind of blew up. I said, they're fighting to get back in this thing. Right. And they've got a really good football team. I mean, they're young a little bit on the offensive side of the ball, and they're going to grow a little bit as they go. But I even told the coach, I said, you've got a scrappy group at the end of the game. I mean, they played us hard football for 4 quarters. Absolutely.
Played hard football. You guys ended up getting the win 14-12. We'll talk about the region implications, but right now you're sitting as good as you could sit right now in the region. We'll break all that down coming up in our next segment. One more sponsor we'd like to thank is the Lincoln Booster Club. They meet every Monday evening at 6:30 p.m. Any prospective member is welcome to attend. They support Coach Brad Wallace, his coaching staff, and the players for all their hard work throughout the season. You can join them, like I said, every Monday, Highway 77 and 78, the intersection up on the hill. Go visit them at Rick's Crossroads Cafe. We are back with more of the Lincoln Playbook after the break. Welcome back to the Lincoln Playbook. Week 8 is in the books. We look forward now to Week 9, a big game, your final region game here in Class 5A Region 6, a big one against Moody on the road.
I mean, it's first half of the season we started out and everything was at home. Now we're on. I told the guys, I said the second half we're on the traveling ban. We're going everywhere around the state, it seems like. But the next game is Moody. One thing that I can tell you about this team is they really come out and they play really hard in the first 2 quarters. I actually got an opportunity to go watch them at Alexandria this past week, and that was the one thing that I kind of brought home with me. I was like, man, I mean, when they come out in the first half, I mean, they're fast tempo offense. They're as quick as they can to the line. They're actually faster than we are to the line, getting a play in. And but the things that I keep noticing about them, their quarterback throws a good ball. The running back that they have, number 25, it seems like every time he touches it, he's 25, 30 yards down the field after each tote. But they've got a good thing going. I think they're about a year off, but I'm gonna tell you something. They're scary when you turn on the tape and you watch how they come out of the blocks at the beginning of the games.
Right. You now, like we said earlier, sit in just about as good a position you can sit as far as the region standings go. Knowing now that everything is settled, as far as playoffs go and everything is that way. What's the mentality like for your guys, and then also assess these teams that are in the region, the ones that you've played so far, and then also Moody, who's sitting there at 4, coming up in week 9.
Well, as far as our kids wise, I mean they're excited to be number 1.
Yeah.
I mean that was one of our goals, and we actually reached one of our goals this year. So I mean one of our major goals. But our kids actually. The main thing that they took out of last week's ball game is we've got to get better if we want to proceed with our next goals.
Right.
And so that's the thing about this football team that we've got this year. They're very humble. I mean, when they do wrong, they listen.
Right.
And they understand things a little bit quicker than most teams. I mean, especially like last year, when something bad happened. It's like they just duck their head.
Right.
This year we're 3-0 in the first half of the Springville ball game, and they come back out in the second half and win.
Right.
And we've done that twice this year.
Right.
So I mean, it's one of those things where they're a scrappy group. They've got a good group of seniors that are trying to lead us through it, and I'm very excited to be a part of this football team.
Talk about the week of preparation as you head into this one, with everything already settled, basically, as far as you've won the region championship, and now you're getting to a place where you can see the playoffs in the future. Is it more stay in the moment? Is it more continue to kind of look ahead and not look over Moody, but look ahead to the playoffs because you're going to play a home game and start to prepare yourself for postseason football? Well,
and one of our main things is this week 95%, we're probably not going to have Mario this Friday.
Right.
So that's going to be one of our goals this week. We've got to move somebody around, and we've got a couple guys that have been at the tailback position that we had to move to another position to help us out, and when they're going to be a part of the mix this week, and getting them, I guess, adjusted to being in that position will be our main goal. I'm always working fundamentals. I mean, and I've got a coach that he messes with me every week. He said, "Man, you put our group on there every week." I said, "Yeah, we've got to work on fundamentals."
Right.
So I said, "That's our main thing each week. If we can get better as a fundamental team, we can be a better football team by the time we get to the end."
Right.
And maybe we can cut out a little bit of that when we get in the playoffs, but I mean we're still doing our own insides. I mean a lot of people take that out of the mix after 2-a-days.
Right.
But we're still doing a little bit of that beating and banging, and I think it's helping us as a football team. It's helping us grow as an offensive line, and to be honest with you, we're gaining some depth with our defensive linemen because they're getting opportunity to go against our number 1 offense.
You guys played on Thursday night this past week. You also played on Thursday night 2 weeks ago against Hayden. What ended up as a result of that was probably the most impressive win of the season, beating Mortimer Jordan. Do you want to kind of take the same approach this time around, knowing that you have that extra day to prepare?
Well, yeah, and the great thing about this weekend, I mean, we've got of course that race that happened this weekend, and so we weren't able to bring them in on Sunday. So we actually had an opportunity to do it on Friday when it was fresh on their minds.
Right.
And they got to be able to see themselves. They had 2 days to rest up, and so that means tomorrow morning, which we're going to be able to go at 8 in the morning. Tomorrow morning they'll be able to start up, and we'll have a great practice. I've got one scheduled for about 2.5 hours, and we've been doing a great job with those on Monday. And it's just going to be shorts and helmets. It's a fundamental day, working on our basic fundamentals, and then we'll proceed through the week. Now Tuesday and Wednesday, those are my beating days.
Yeah,
so we go out and bang a little bit during those 2 days.
Right. Final question. Was the one thing specifically you always want to get better at something, but when you look at the film next week, you want to say, "Hey guys, we got better in this area of the game." Well,
our main thing is number 1 is controlling football. I mean, we had those 2 turnovers during this ball game, and the other thing is we want to be able to get better on the offensive line.
Right.
I think we had some. We kind of dropped our eyes a little bit when we were in our stances, and we didn't look up and see our blitzing backers, and we weren't on our double teams looking for our backers as we were coming through. That's some little things that we can fix, and it will make us a much better football team on Friday night.
Absolutely. The Lincoln Golden Bears will face Moody on the road. Go out and see them on Friday night in Week 9. Final regular region game of the regular season. For head coach Brad Wallace, Tony Castaneda, who shot Thursday night's game, thank you so much. We'll see you next week right here on the Lincoln Playbook.